Kyrie Jesu Domine, dona eis requiem.
Well, happy Friday, everybody. No particular theme this morning. I think we're looking at a transition back to more normalcy in life by the middle of this month, which will be good. I'm sure there will be things for a transition period. But don't you think at some point we will all have to get back to the risk of living? And then when we look back at this chapter of modern life, we will realize that fear caused more distortions than it did prevent things. Again, you always have to say this because there's some righteous Johnny out there who is already thinking, I don't care about human life. And I absolutely do. But human life doesn't go on forever for anybody. We go on to eternal life if you're a believer, and if you're not a believer, I don't know what you go on to, recycling or back to nature. But there's going to come a time when we have to go back to as normal as much as possible with a heightened awareness of how to protect people who are vulnerable, maybe IDing these bugs quicker, and having what we think are means to help alleviate symptoms. I think that's going to have to be the new norm. I mean, are we not going to get back to mass transit? Are we not going to have airlines functioning anymore, or trains or buses? Are we not going to have social gatherings where I am standing next to somebody who could have any type of disease, just like it was prior to COVID, that I didn't know about? I mean, every flu season, we would walk among people who could possibly give us a flu, which could possibly kill us. And we don't give that much thought. I mean, I avoided people in the past when they were sneezing during the wintertime, or looked to my uninformed mind like they had flu symptoms. But we're going to have to get back to that at some point. Or else, my biggest concern as a pastor is the ugliness of spirit this has generated in our populace, where we view people with a profound lack of charity. And I will give you the divide. You don't wear a mask, you hate people, and you're reckless, and you don't care who gets the disease or if you get the disease. Well, there's probably some partial truth to that. I mean, I don't care if I get the disease. I don't want to give it to anybody else. And if I had it, I wouldn't go out. I'd stay at home till I got over it, or I got called to my eternal home. And I don't say that glibly, because I'm 53. I'd like to have another 30 years on the clock, but I don't know. I never presumed that. At the same time, I don't want to constantly look at people with masks and think you're all a bunch of paranoid idiots wearing them in your cars, or having full body suits. You might as well just go get some armor at a medieval store and wear that to protect you. I don't think that. I think you're taking precautions. But there's going to have to come a time when that all is set aside. And I think the biggest thing, if I understand mask right, and people can correct me in comments or whatever, is to help spread the prevention of it more than protect you from it. Biggest thing seems to be proper sanitation, not touching your face, which is hard, and things like that. But I'm hoping next winter we don't have another pandemic like this. I don't think we can handle it mentally. I'm not even worried about the economic part of it. I'm worried about the mental part of it for all of us. Because there will be a toll. Because the only death that matters are not COVID-19 deaths. And anybody who thinks so is such a jaded person. I have a lot of other ugly words I won't put on this podcast because I like people listening to it. But there will be a return to normal. And it ain't going to be the new normal. It needs to be the old normal. Living involves risk. And we can be more mindful about prevention now. We can be more mindful about sensitivity now. And yet at the same time, we're going to have to go out and take our risk of living with our neighbors. Because if you don't want to risk living with your neighbors, you should get your Unabomber cabin somewhere out in the upper Northwest or up in Canada and live in isolation and see how your life goes there. Most of us aren't cut out for solitary life. We need other people to keep us balanced, to give us good perspective, to correct us when we're wrong, to encourage us when we're down. Anyway, God bless. Praying for everybody. Please pray for me, and I'll be glad when this chapter is something we remember in 2022 and think, wow, wasn't 2020 crazy?